How's it going, everyone? This is Fun Gaming Connoisseur, and welcome to this video where I want to talk about my love of gaming and the things that I've, felt that was important to me as a gamer, and just my general thoughts on video gaming industry and so forth. And so today I just want to focus on the subject of video game reviews and how one can find out whether a game is good or not, and whether it is a game that you would want to buy for yourself. Okay, so now this game is Quest for Glory 1, the VGA version, and the reason why I've decided to choose this game as to play while I'm talking is because this is one of the very old games that I grew up with and a game that I really enjoyed. And so I'm just going to play the game, and then I will talk as I go along. Okay, so if you don't know this already, I've been playing games for many years, ever since I was a little kid. I think I was around 6 or 7, something like that, when I started gaming. And it wasn't until when I was about 8 or 9 that I got into PC gaming, and this is where I've been all along, playing games on the PC. And so okay, so back in the day, I had a friend who I played video games with, and we would play games together. After school, I would go to his house and we would play games together. I'm sure if you grew up in the 80s or 90s, you would know what that meant. We quite often, we sat in front of the same computer, and we would play the same game together in front of the same computer. And I've had fond memories of those years of playing very good games. The 90s was the era when a lot of the genres that we now know and love, like first person shooter, real-time strategy, MMORPGs, and many other genres came into the mainstream. And so the 90s was a very good time, for me as a gamer. I got to play a lot of, really good games. Wing Commander, Master of Orion, Command and Conquer. I might even say Dune 2, because actually Dune 2 was a very good game. I got to play a lot of the really good games back in the day. And now one thing that really stood out for me was that all the games that we played were games that were good. The games that we played, they were I think well received by many. And so, I remember playing a game called Star Control 2. And now that game went on to become, one of the all-time best classic games of all time. And back then we didn't have things like the internet reviews, and, we didn't have YouTube and, all the other things that we now take for granted. Things that enable us to find out more about a game before we would play it, before we would buy it and play it. And so, one thing that I really feel that is important is that, back in the day, we got to see a game for ourselves. And, games like Doom, when they came out, they had a shareware version. Now, if you don't know what shareware is, it's basically a demo, but it's kind of like a bigger size demo. It would come with, maybe, like a full campaign. It had I think Doom had several different campaigns, and the shareware versions would come with like a one out of several campaigns, and you could actually play it quite extensively. And if you liked the game, then what you would do is you would go on to, I think you would telephone BBS or something like that. I never used that before, but you would then mail, your order. You send your payment through, I think through mail or something like that, or some other method, and then a full version of the game would be shipped to you. And yeah, so what was really good about back in the day is that every game that you wanted to play, you got to see it for yourself. I think if a friend bought a game that was really good, then they might invite you over to their place, and then you would play that game. And you would sit down in front of the same computer, and you would get to see the game as it really is. And you might even get to play it for yourself. You get to take turns to play the same game. And so that was the same for me. I got to play games like UFO, Enemy Unknown, Dune 2, a lot of really good games that I later on went on to buy copies for myself, all because I sat in front of the same computer with my friend. And so that's really, really something that really stood out for me, as I was growing up, when we got, when the internet came along, and, we got YouTube and Steam and all the stuff that we have now. And I think it's taken a bit of a turn for the worse. I think, with all these things that have come out in recent times, I feel that nowadays people are buying games that they've never played before, and they've not seen extensively, and they've really just trusted what people say in the reviews, and from big gaming sites like IGN, GameSpot, and so on. And so they've not really spent the time and put in the effort to do the research, and they've not really seen the game for themselves. And I feel that that's really unfortunate, because that's not how my friend and I used to play games. We used to we would see the game first, maybe from another friend's house. We'd go to that friend's house and we would see it. And the thing about really good games is that a lot of people would be playing it. And so what tends to happen is that one person would buy the game, and they would invite their friends over to play that game, and then they would then go and buy a copy for themselves, and then they would invite their friends, and so on and so forth. Let me just sit down. And so that's how people found out about really, really good games, is through word of mouth. And I feel that that's really important, because back in the day, it was really the good games that went on to make lots of sales. The good games were the ones that were being bought and played, whereas the really, really bad games tended to fade into obscurity. I think one good example would be Master of Orion 3. Master of Orion 1 and 2 were excellent games. Probably Master of Orion 2 was the best out of the series. And when Master of Orion 3 came out, my friend and I literally didn't even know it existed until maybe half a year or so later. And we didn't even buy that game, because apparently not many people were playing it. And so that game didn't sell very well. And as you know, that was the end. That was the last Master of Orion game that was produced. And so it really made an impression on me as I got older. That why is it that nowadays people are buying games that they later regret? Steam offers you they offer you a refund if you refund it within 2 hours of playing it, within the 2-hour grace period. But I tend to see so many people getting upset, and I think with Fallout 76, there was even one video of a guy who went to return a game at a retailer store, and for some reason they didn't get a refund. The refund was not possible, and so they decided to wreak havoc in the store, and they pushed over store shelves and things like that, and just made a mess. Now, back in the day, this wouldn't happen, because we would all be playing games that we loved, and so it really does make me feel that nowadays people are not doing the research. They are not thinking for themselves. They are just trusting what the review sites say, and they're just going by what other friends, other people say or whatever, and it's really unfortunate because, if people did the research, if people, did things like watch YouTube videos of a game when it came out, instead of just, going pre-order a game before it comes out and, later regretting it, it would save people so much more money, and, people would actually have more games in their library that they actually enjoy, and they didn't have to, go and buy and then refund and, so forth. And okay, I think I've done enough here. Now, can I leave? No, you can't. Okay, so it seems like I have to get a room. Okay, so okay, let me just get a room. Okay, so yeah, I really think that growing up in the 80s and 90s was a good thing. It meant that I now have that that knowledge that you don't just go and buy a game straight away or pre-order it like a lot of people do these days. The reason why we have this whole pre-order and season passes is because the industry knows that people are going to just buy a game because they think that it's going to be good, and they're more trusting. I think people are more trusting nowadays for some reason. I may or may not be right, but I feel that I do feel that people are more trusting, and they don't really take the time to do their research. They seem to just see a game and they buy it first and then ask questions later, whereas it should be the other way around. Oh gosh, these these are expensive, especially when you're just starting out. But yeah, this is actually one of the best games that I've ever played, and I'll tell you more about that later. Actually, I might even do a separate video on this. This is, I would say this game is a precursor to a lot of the sandbox and open world RPGs that we have now. That's just my opinion. Back in the day, NPCs used to have manners. Nowadays, they just spit in your face. Very quick. They really do have manners. Now that they just say, "What do you want?" And then they just, they just drop the food in front of you, and then and that's it. But yeah, I'm just going to show you a bit more about this game, and so so as I said, it's a bit of a tragedy, I think, with the way the video gaming industry works nowadays, But I think a lot of people are starting to wake up to the fact that they need to be a bit more cautious and not be so quick to just jump on the bandwagon. And so this is a game that I grew up with as a kid, and it really, let me just show you something. Okay, so I've just picked up some rocks and 20 small rocks. So now you can use these rocks to do a lot of things with them. Let me just walk around and see whether I can attract a monster. See, the monsters in this game, I think they randomly spawn. And so it kind of gives you that illusion of a world that is living and breathing. And that's another topic that I'll get into another day. Oh. Okay, didn't get the time to do it. Just killed a goblin. Okay, got all my money back from the night before, paying for the room and the meal. And this is an RPG after all, so you do have a character sheet. And Devon Aidendale, that's the, if I'm not mistaken, that is the actual name in the in-game lore, the name for the character that you play. And so this is a very, very good game. I actually, this is a game that stirred my imagination quite a bit when I was a kid, because it actually made you feel very, very immersed. You feel that you were that player in the game, and you would do things from the perspective of the character. Okay, let me just show you what I mean by actually the rocks serve many uses. So let me just show you. Okay, so as you know, in this game you can play as a fighter, a thief, or a magic user. Now, the way you would approach problems is, you would either approach it from the perspective of the class that you play, or you can choose to go about it in any way you wish. So what I mean by that is, if you are a fighter, you can either approach it by brute force, or you can approach it from the perspective of a thief and maybe climb the cliff face, or you can use magic. Now, the thing about this game is that it actually allows you to approach the problem any way you want, and even if you don't have the skill that you need in order to approach that problem, you can actually learn it as long as you put in the additional skill points to unlock that skill. So, for example, climbing. I don't have climbing, but I can actually unlock that skill by investing in skill points. But I'm not going to do that here. I'm just going to show you. See the rocks I just picked up? You better move away from the door, because if the door opens, it'll push you back down. So it's you do need to pay attention in this game. Yeah, I do love the characters in this game. It's very yeah, this brings back so many memories of my childhood. And so yeah, it's, you know, that's really the point I want to make about games in this video. You know, if you're thinking of getting that next game, don't be so quick to pre-order or trust everything that the developers say. And I would even go so far as to say that don't trust the reviews, because I find that reviews are very, very subjective, and I've seen a lot of really, really questionable reviews, and reviews are just downright really, really ridiculous. And so for me, I don't really trust reviews. For me, I would rather spend the time that you spend in reading up reviews. Instead, just go on YouTube and search videos of the game that you want to find out more on, and just play those videos and then just watch it, because watching those videos is kind of like you sitting in front of the computer with your friend in front of the same computer and playing that same game. Okay, but the only difference is that you don't get to play the game, but you know what I mean. You get to see the game as it really is. And it's you'll get a better idea of what the game is really like. Instead of you just pre-ordering based on what you've heard from some person on the internet, or reading some review or some really edited trailer or footage of the game by the developers, clearly intended to entice you to buy the game. Instead, spend maybe 2 or 3 hours. Okay, maybe not so many hours, but maybe at least 1.5 hours. Just spend that time watching videos of the game that you want to buy. And once you've seen enough of the game to help you make up your mind, then more monsters. Yeah, so take the time to watch videos. That would really actually help you far more in the long term, to help you decide whether a game is for you or not. And so that's really the message that I want to leave with you for this video, is that if you want to buy a game, do it the way, I think, I would kindly suggest that you do it the way that my friend and I used to do it. Watch the game being played in front of another friend's computer, and then if we really like the game, then buy a copy. And yeah, I think if we all did this collectively, I think I really think that if we all did this, watch videos of the game that we want to find out more on, and then if we like the game, then we buy it based on what we've seen on YouTube videos, after watching 1.5 hours at least, then I think that the video game industry would be a much better place. A lot of the very questionable practices would not be so prevalent. And so really, so I hope that you would take something from this and make a more informed and better purchasing decisions when it comes to video games. And so I will, depending on how this video does on YouTube, I will make more of it, because there's a lot I want to talk about in the world of video games. And so I hope that you will please like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon, and share this video. Look forward to seeing you next time. This is Swan Gaming Connoisseur. Take care and have a good day.